Have you ever wondered why some men become unforgettable, while others fade the moment they give too much? The truth is, women don't stay attached because of shared hobbies, sweet words, or endless effort. They stay when they respect you, when they feel your presence, when your life is anchored in purpose. In this video, we'll uncover 10 timeless principles that reveal how female attachment really works and how a man can embody the strength, clarity, and confidence that women truly crave. If this is your first time here, welcome. Make sure to subscribe. Hit the like button and share this video with someone who needs it. Stay with me until the end, because these lessons aren't just about women. They're about becoming the kind of man who commands respect wherever he goes. 1. Respect compatibility. You know, a lot of men believe that compatibility is the foundation of a relationship. They think if we share the same hobbies, the same music, the same favorite movies, then we'll last. But let me tell you something hard to swallow. Compatibility alone doesn't hold a woman. It never has, and it never will. I've seen men who laughed with their partners over the same jokes, who traveled to all the right places, who ticked every box of compatibility, and yet, she still drifted away. Why? Because it was never about sharing playlists or weekend hobbies. It was about something far deeper. Respect. A woman may enjoy your company when you like the same things, but she will only stay body, mind, and soul when she respects you. And respect doesn't come from being agreeable. It doesn't come from always saying yes. Respect is forged in how you carry yourself when the storm hits. Think about it. When life tests you, when chaos strikes, when emotions flare, do you collapse? Do you bend? Compromise your values? Soften yourself just to keep the peace? Or do you stand firm, rooted like an oak tree that doesn't sway just because the wind demands it? A woman will not admire a man who melts under pressure. She may pity him. She may even stay out of convenience for a while, but deep down, the flame dies. What she craves, often without being able to put it into words, is the presence of a man who doesn't lose himself just because she lost control of her emotions. Respect is born when a man lives with clarity, when he has direction, when he leads not with arrogance, but with steadiness. Let me make this clear. Respect is not domination. It's not about raising your voice or demanding obedience. Respect is about being unawakable, about showing through action that you won't abandon your principles even for temporary comfort. I've watched relationships collapse, not because two people weren't compatible, but because the man thought compatibility was enough. He stopped growing, stopped leading, stopped challenging her to rise with him. He turned into a mirror, reflecting her moods instead of being an anchor when she spiraled. And once a woman feels she can sway you at will, once she sees that your emotions depend on hers, her respect for you quietly dies. So ask yourself this when she tests you, and she will do you pass those silent tests. When she withdraws affection to see if you'll chase, do you remain centered? When she's emotional, do you drown in it with her? Or do you hold the line and guide the both of you back to clarity? Because let me tell you, she doesn't want a partner who mirrors her feelings. She wants a man who anchors her when she's drowning. She wants someone she can look at and think, no matter how chaotic I feel, he won't break. Respect is steel, and steel survives fire. Compatibility is nice. It makes for good dates and fun memories. But respect is what keeps her gaze on you when the years get heavy. It's what makes her trust you with her vulnerability. It's what keeps her soul tethered when her mind tells her to run. So my brother, don't waste your energy trying to prove you're compatible. Don't bend over backwards to share every hobby or to always be agreeable. Build respect. Stand firm. Be the man who can say no when it matters. Be the one who leads with vision, who doesn't fold under moods or pressure. Because once a woman respects you, everything else follows. And without respect, even perfect compatibility will eventually crumble. 2. Confidence isn't material. Let me tell you a story. I once knew a man who had nothing, no fancy car, no big house, no polished wardrobe. And yet when he walked into a room, people noticed. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't try to impress. He simply carried himself like he belonged, no matter where he was. And women noticed too. Not because of what he had, but because of who he was. His presence spoke louder than possessions ever could. You see, so many men spend their lives chasing the next symbol of worth. They think, if I just buy a better car, if I just wear the right watch, if I just move into the right neighborhood, then she'll finally see me. But here's the truth. She doesn't attach to what you own. She attaches to what you embody. Confidence isn't material. It's not a car engine, not a price tag, not the size of your bank account. It's an energy, a stillness, a deep knowing inside that says, I am enough, with or without. Think about it. When the storms of life hit, your possessions can vanish. Money can be lost. Status can fade overnight. But what remains? Your center, your character, your presence. That is what endures. And that is what she feels most deeply. A woman doesn't need your mansion. She needs your solidity. She doesn't stay because of your suit. She stays because when the world shakes, you don't. Confidence is built in silence, in discipline, in facing your fears without collapsing. It's born in the quiet mornings, when you choose to rise early, train your body, sharpen your mind. It grows each time you say no to temptation, each time you hold the line of your standards, each time you refuse to trade your self-respect for approval. That's the kind of man a woman attaches to, not the man who flaunts, but the man who doesn't need to. Not the man who brags, but the man whose stillness says, I belong here, no matter what. Have you ever met someone who tries too hard to prove himself? He overtalks, he overspends, he overexplains. And yet the more he gives, the less respect he receives. Because confidence that needs to be proven isn't confidence. It's insecurity, dressed up. Real confidence doesn't need decoration. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't even need recognition. A Stoic man understands this everything. External is borrowed. Your possessions, your wealth, your eudox. None of it is truly yours. What is yours, what no one can strip away, is your character, your discipline, your mind. Build those, and your presence will always carry weight, whether you walk into a room in rags or in tailored suits. And here's the irony. Once you stop chasing possessions to prove your worth, you actually attract more. People feel drawn to a man who doesn't need approval. Opportunities come to a man who carries himself with quiet conviction. Women stay with a man who is grounded because he gives them something money never can. Security of spirit. So my brother, stop chasing symbols. Stop thinking the next material upgrade will finally make her see you. She doesn't attach to your car, your shoes, your bank balance. She attaches to the energy of a man who could lose it all tomorrow and still remain unshaken. Confidence isn't something you wear, it's something you are. And when you embody that truth, She will feel it in her bones. 3. Chemistry is an illusion of tension. Have you ever heard a woman say, "I don't know why, but I just felt this chemistry with him"? And you sit there wondering, what does that even mean? Because you were the one who texted her good morning. You were the one who listened to every word, who showed her kindness at every turn. Yet somehow, it wasn't enough. Let me tell you a hard truth, my friend. What she calls chemistry, it's not magic. It's not fate. It's not two souls destined to collide. Chemistry is an illusion, an emotional reaction born from tension, from mystery, from uncertainty. Think about the times when she seemed most drawn in. Was it when you poured out every ounce of your heart, every detail of your life, every promise of loyalty? Or was it when you held something back, when you were slightly out of reach, when she couldn't quite figure you out? That's the secret. Her heart races not when you give her everything, but when she feels like she might lose something. The fire isn't lit by comfort, it's lit by uncertainty. You see, men are often told, be consistent, be always available, prove to her how much you care. But the paradox is this: the more certain she is of you, the less she feels the pull. The more predictable you become, the faster the spark fades. Chemistry lives in contrast. It's the unanswered question in her mind. It's the pause in your words. It's the silence that lingers just long enough to make her wonder. And here's the beautiful irony: you don't need to play games. You don't need to be manipulative. All you need is discipline. The discipline to not overshare. The discipline to not rush in to fill every silence. The discipline to let her curiosity do the work. A Stoic man knows this well. Mystery is not performance. It's the natural aura of a man who is grounded in his mission. When your life is full, when your purpose leads the way, you don't need to give constant attention to create attraction. Your very absence creates its own gravity. Imagine two men. One is always available, always eager, always ready to prove himself. She appreciates his kindness, but she forgets him easily. The other he gives glimpses, but never the full picture. He shares pieces of himself, but not all. He's warm, but he's not desperate. And that my brother is the man she cannot stop thinking about. Chemistry is not built in the giving, it's built in the gap. The space between who you are and what she understands about you. That tension keeps her awake at night, replaying your words, wondering what you meant, curious about what you'll do next. If you've ever had a woman obsessed with you at a time when you weren't even trying, it's because your absence, your mystery, created a story in her mind. And stories are more powerful than facts. So stop chasing chemistry as if it's luck. Stop thinking you need to do more, give more, or prove more. True chemistry isn't earned through effort, it's triggered through restraint. Let her feel the tension. Let her sit with the unknown. Let her lean into the mystery of a man who doesn't spill everything at once, who doesn't need to be validated, who carries himself with quiet confidence. Because in the end, chemistry is not love. It's not compatibility. It's not destiny. It's the fire born from friction. And the man who understands this doesn't chase it. He embodies it. 4. She must look up to you. Let me tell you something most men don't want to hear. The moment a woman feels she's ahead of you in purpose, in growth, in strength, that's the moment her attachment begins to wither. She may still smile. She may still say she loves you. But deep down, she's already slipping away. Why? Because admiration is the foundation of female desire. She doesn't stay for comfort. She doesn't stay for history. She stays because she respects the man she sees in front of her. And once that respect is gone, nothing else matters. Think back to the early days of any relationship. She looked at you with eyes full of curiosity, maybe even awe. Not because you were perfect, but because you carried weight. You had direction. You moved with certainty. She could feel that you were someone she could look up to. That's what pulled her in. But here's where men fail. Once they think they have her, they stop leading. They soften. They compromise too much. They start centering their world around her instead of their mission. And slowly, without even realizing it, they step down from the pedestal she once placed them on. And when she looks down instead of up, that's when the light in her eyes begins to fade. She doesn't want to mother you. She doesn't want to carry the weight of your indecision. She wants to trust that you can carry her through storms without losing your center. She doesn't need a perfect man, but she needs a man who will not collapse. Think about it. How many times have you seen a woman stay loyal to a man who wasn't the richest, the tallest, or the most handsome? But he had presence. He had that quiet authority, that ability to stand firm when everything else shook. That's the man she admired. That's the man she followed. And it's not about domination. It's not about control. It's about leadership. A leadership born out of self-respect, out of vision, out of clarity. A woman attaches when she feels, this man knows where he's going, and I want to be part of that journey. But the moment she senses that you've lost your way, that you're following her moods instead of your mission, that's when she starts questioning everything. You'll feel it in her tone. You'll see it in her distance. And you'll wonder what went wrong. But the truth is simple. She stopped looking up to you. As men, our duty is not to seek her validation, but to build ourselves so deeply that her validation becomes a natural byproduct. You don't ask for respect. You earn it by standing firm when life tests you. You earn it by saying no when it matters. You earn it by choosing standards over comfort, discipline over indulgence. She doesn't want a man who agrees with everything she says. She wants a man who can look her in the eyes and calmly say, "No, that's not the way we're going." Not with anger, not with arrogance, but with a quiet strength that says, "I know who I am. I know where we're heading." Because here's the hard truth. Once she feels she's surpassed you emotionally, spiritually, or in vision, the relationship is already over. She may stay physically, but her heart will be searching elsewhere. So remember this, she must look up to you. Not because you demand it, not because you play games to appear higher, but because you actually are building yourself higher every single day. You're sharpening your mind. You're strengthening your body. You're deepening your discipline. When you live like that, she doesn't just stay. She admires. She respects. She invests. Because she knows she is beside a man who refuses to shrink. A man she can trust to lead when the storm comes. And that my brother is the kind of man a woman will follow for life. 5. Value is socially reflected. Let me tell you a truth most men never consider. A woman doesn't just see you through her own eyes. She sees you through the eyes of the world around you. She's watching even when you don't realize it. Watching how men react to you. Watching how women respond to you. Watching if your presence shifts the energy of the room, or if you're ignored like background noise. It's not shallow. It's nature. Because for a woman, being with you is not just a private experience, it's a social investment. She's asking herself, If I stand beside this man, do I rise or do I fall? Now think about it. Have you ever walked into a room with her and noticed her body language shift when others greeted you with respect? When men gave you a firm handshake, when women glanced twice, when your name carried weight. That moment she felt it. She felt like she had chosen well, like she was next to someone valuable. But the opposite is also true. If you walk in and no one notices, if people talk over you, dismiss you, treat you as if you don't matter, she feels that too. And deep down, it erodes her attachment. Not because she doesn't care about you, but because she cannot unsee what the world reflects back. This is why some women stay loyal to men who are reckless, even unstable, because those men command attention. They carry a presence that others recognize, and that social reflection magnifies their value in her eyes. Here's the lesson. It isn't something you whisper into her ear. It's something the world confirms without you saying a word. You can send her long texts, buy her gifts, plan romantic dates. But if she sees the world treating you as invisible, those efforts fade. She doesn't want to walk beside a man who only matters to her. She wants a man who matters, period. And this doesn't mean you need to be rich, famous, or powerful. It means you must build a reputation that carries weight in your circles. Do people respect your time? Do they seek your advice? Do they pause when you speak? Do you walk into a space with a quiet authority that makes people take notice? That's what she feels. That's what makes her sit a little straighter, act a little softer, try a little harder, because she knows she is with a man who has earned his place in the world. Understand this. Women are wired to measure their own security by the strength of the man beside them. If others respect you, she feels secure. If others admire you, she feels elevated. But if no one seems to value you eventually, she won't either. So guard your name like gold. Speak with weight. Keep your promises. Build influence, even if it's just in your small circle of friends, your workplace, your community. Because every time she watches you being respected by others, her attachment deepens. The world's reflection of you becomes her confirmation. And when she realizes she is with a man who isn't just seen, but valued, her desire doesn't just stay, it grows. That is the power of social reflection. And that is why, if you want her loyalty, you cannot just matter to her, you must matter to the world. 6. Desire is triggered, not earned. Most men have been told a dangerous lie. They've been taught that if they just give more time, more attention, more gifts, then eventually a woman will love them more. But tell me honestly, how has that worked out for you? The more you gave, the colder she became. The more you tried to prove your worth, the less she seemed to see it. That's because desire doesn't work like a transaction. It isn't earned through effort. It's triggered through tension. Think about it. When was the last time she was obsessed with a man who always replied instantly, who bent his schedule for her, who constantly reassured her? She wasn't. Because that kind of man gives her comfort, but not fire. Comfort may keep her around for a season, but it never creates the pull that keeps her thinking about you when you're not there. Desire is born in scarcity, in the possibility that you could walk away at any moment. It's born in mystery, in not knowing exactly how you'll respond, what you'll do next, or where your focus lies. It's born in tension, the quiet, unspoken space where she starts wondering, does he truly want me? Or is he too focused on his path to notice? You see, when she's certain she already has you, desire dies. But when she feels she must still earn you, that's when her instincts awaken. That's when she invests. And investment, not comfort, is what deepens attachment. Here's the paradox: you don't create desire by giving her everything. You create it by not giving her everything, by leaving just enough space for her to question, to lean in, to pursue. This doesn't mean you play games. It doesn't mean being cruel or manipulative. It means being real. It means living with such purpose and self-respect that you cannot always be available because your mission comes first. It means holding back just enough of yourself so that she feels the weight of your absence as much as your presence. Let me put it this way: a man who is always available becomes invisible. A man who is sometimes absent becomes unforgettable. Women don't attach to men who pour endlessly into them. They attach to men who know their own value. Men who choose carefully when and how to give, men whose presence feels like a privilege, not a guarantee. So stop trying to earn her love. Stop thinking another sweet gesture, another long message, another sacrifice of your time will make her desire you. It won't. In fact, it will smother the very spark you're trying to create. Instead, embrace scarcity. Let her feel your focus on your own growth, your mission, your discipline. Let her see that your life moves forward with or without her participation. That's when she begins to lean in. That's when she feels the fear of loss. And that fear of loss, that quiet awareness that you could walk away and be just fine, that is what triggers desire. The Stoics taught that desire is not something to chase. It's something that arises when you live in alignment with your values. The same is true here. When you stand grounded, when you refuse to beg, when you prioritize your path, desire will chase you. Remember this: desire is not earned. It's sparked. It's kept alive, not by your constant giving, but by your willingness to walk away if respect disappears. And once you embody that truth, you'll never need to chase again. Because the spark will always come from who you are, not what you give. 7. Perceived superiority creates attachment. There's a truth about human nature that most men never want to face. A woman does not become obsessed with the man she feels equal to. She becomes obsessed with the man who feels just slightly out of reach. The man who carries himself with a presence so grounded, so certain, so focused, that she senses she can never fully grasp him. Now, don't misunderstand me. This isn't about arrogance. It isn't about strutting around proclaiming you're better than her. No. It's about the quiet power of a man who knows who he is and who refuses to shrink himself to fit into her world. Think back on your own life. When were you most desired? It was likely when you weren't even trying. When you were locked in on your goals, too busy building something meaningful to chase validation. That's when she leaned in. That's when she wondered, what is it about him? Why can't I get closer? That gap, the space she couldn't close, wasn't a weakness. It was the very spark of attraction. You see, when a man lowers himself to seek equality in emotions, always explaining, always adjusting, always making himself available, she stops admiring him. He becomes familiar, predictable, within reach. And what is within reach is rarely cherished. But when a man moves through life with direction, when he isn't shaken by her moods, when he doesn't argue or explain and unnecessarily, when he simply is, he creates emotional gravity. She feels it in her body, even if she can't explain it with her words. She begins to attach, not because of what he gives, but because of what he represents: strength, clarity, certainty. This is what I mean by perceived superiority. It's not about money status or looks. It's about being rooted so deeply in your purpose that she knows she can't fully own you. You're not her project. You're not her comfort blanket. You are the man she must rise to meet. And here's the paradox. She may resist it. She may even test you. But deep down, that's what keeps her invested. She wants to climb toward you, not drag you down. She wants to feel like your presence demands more of her, not less. That's why so many women lose interest in men who hand themselves over too quickly. The mystery is gone. The challenge is gone. The fire is gone. The Stoics taught that true strength lies in self-mastery. A man who cannot be shaken by flattery, by beauty, by seduction, that man is rare. And what is rare becomes valuable. So if you want her respect, if you want her attachment, stop trying to meet her where she is. Live at a level slightly above. Not to diminish her, but to invite her upward. Let your life speak so loudly, your mission stand so firmly, that she feels lucky just to walk beside you. Because once she looks at you and thinks, I can't quite reach him, but I want to try. That's when obsession is born. That's when desire roots itself deep inside her. And that is not something she forgets. Remember this, if she ever stops looking up to you, the relationship is already over, even if she hasn't left yet. Her attachment fades the moment you collapse into her moods, her world, her frame. Stay grounded in yours. Stay slightly above, not through arrogance, but through discipline. Be the man she can never fully capture, but always longs to reach. That's the kind of man she remembers forever. 8. Purpose is the anchor. Let me tell you something that many men learn too late. You can have the deepest connection with a woman. The late-night talks, the laughter, the intimacy, but if you lose your purpose, that connection will wither like a flower cut from its roots. Purpose, my friend, is the anchor. Without it, you drift. And when you drift, she detaches. A woman doesn't stay because of how much you love her. She stays because of how much you love your mission. That may sound harsh, but it's the truth carved into the very nature of attraction. A man without purpose becomes weightless, and a weightless man cannot hold respect. Think about it. When has she looked at you with the most admiration? It wasn't when you were sitting around waiting on her text, or when you rearranged your life just to fit into hers. It was when you were immersed in your craft, when you walked with a sense of direction, when you were so consumed by building something larger than yourself that her presence felt like a gift, not a lifeline. Purpose creates gravity. It keeps you centered when emotions rise and fall, when life tests you, when temptation whispers in your ear. Without it, you're tossed around by her moods, by your fears, by the world's chaos. And no woman can truly respect a man who has no anchor in himself. She may stay out of comfort, but her heart will be elsewhere, drawn to the man who knows where he is going. The Stoics spoke of living according to nature, of aligning your life with reason and duty. For us men, that means embracing a mission that transcends comfort, that demands discipline. Whether it's building a business, mastering a craft, raising a family with vision. Your mission must come before her moods, before your desire, even before your own comfort. Because when you live for something greater, you give her something she can admire, something she can trust. Ask yourself this: what happens when a man abandons his purpose for love? At first, she may feel flattered. She may even think she wants to be the center of his world. But over time, something shifts. The very thing she thought she wanted becomes the reason she pulls away. but because she no longer looks up to him. He gave up his anchor, and once she sees him adrift, she begins to feel unsafe, unsteady, even resentful. On the other hand, when you remain anchored in your mission, you become unshakable. She tests you, but you don't bend. She tries to pull you off course, but you hold steady. You're kind, but not submissive. Loving, but not lost. That's when respect deepens. That's when her attachment grows, because she sees a man she can trust to lead even when storms come. Purpose is not optional. It is oxygen. Without it, you suffocate. Without it, no amount of affection, no amount of gifts, no amount of effort can save the relationship. With it, you become a man. She not only desires, but admires. A man she knows will not collapse under pressure. A man who gives her the rare privilege of standing beside strength that endures. So guard your mission like your very soul depends on it, because it does. Let her join you, but never replace it with her. Build a life so grounded in purpose that even if she leaves you, remain unbroken. That's the paradox. When you put purpose first, you not only secure your own peace, you give her the one thing she craves most: your strength. Remember this. She doesn't fall for a man who orbits her. She falls for a man whose life she is lucky to orbit. And the only way to be that man is to let your purpose be the anchor. 9. Boundaries are magnetic. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever noticed how the men who say no with calm certainty seem to draw more respect and even more desire than the men who bend over backward to please? That is no accident. Boundaries, my friend, are magnetic. A woman doesn't attach deeply to a man who gives her everything she asks for. She attaches to the man who calmly enforces limits, who shows through his actions that his dignity is worth more than her approval. And that's because boundaries are not walls to keep her out. They are pillars that prove you value yourself. Too many men today confuse kindness with submission. They believe that if they are endlessly accommodating, if they sacrifice their needs to keep her happy, she will stay loyal. But the opposite is true. The moment you make her comfort more important than your standards, she loses respect. And when respect dies, attachment follows. Think back to history, to the Stoics themselves. Marcus Aurelius spoke of the importance of living according to principles, not emotions. Boundaries are the modern form of those principles. They are the silent declaration. This is who I am. This is what I will accept. This is what I will not. And when you live by that code, you don't need to explain yourself. She feels it in your presence. Imagine two men. One agrees to every demand, cancels his plans whenever she calls, tolerates disrespect just to keep her close. The other listens, but does not fold. He values her, but values himself more. He doesn't punish. He doesn't argue. He simply steps away when his standards are crossed. Which man do you think she remembers? Which man do you think she feels drawn to? It's the one who stood firm, because his boundaries made him rare. Women may test your limits sometimes without even knowing it. They push to see if you will bend, if your words match your actions. And every time you hold the line not with anger, but with calm certainty, you become more magnetic. Why? Because she knows she cannot control you. And deep down, that is what ignites her attachment. The truth is, boundaries create tension, and tension creates desire. When you say no to something that violates your values, you show her that you are not afraid of losing her. You show her that your mission, your peace, your dignity come first. And paradoxically, that is when she clings tighter. Because she realizes that your attention is not cheap. It must be earned. Let me remind you, boundaries are not about dominance. They are about discipline. They are not weapons to punish her. They are shields to protect your soul. And when a man protects his soul, he becomes someone worth following. A woman may not always like your boundaries in the moment, but she will always respect them in the long run. And respect, as we've said before, is the foundation of true attachment. So the next time you feel that temptation to compromise, just to keep her happy, stop and ask yourself, am I choosing peace, or am I betraying my own principles? Because every time you betray yourself, you weaken the very thing that made her drawn to you in the first place. A man without boundaries becomes invisible. A man with boundaries becomes unforgettable. Not because he tries to impress, but because he proves with every decision that his worth is not negotiable. Remember this, a woman may be entertained by a man who gives her everything, but she attaches to the man who values himself enough to say no. That no spoken calmly without fear, without apology. That is the sound of strength. That is the sound of a man she cannot control and therefore cannot forget. Boundaries, my brother, are not just rules. They are your essence. Guard them well, and you will never have to chase her respect. She will give it freely, because she will feel deep down that she has found a man who belongs to himself. And that is the rarest kind of man alive. 10. Emotional imprint. Outlives words. Let me share something with you that most men never realize until it's too late. She won't remember every compliment you gave her, every flower you bought, or every text you sent at midnight. Words fade. Gifts fade. Even your constant presence fades into the background. But what she will never forget is how you made her feel. Think about it. A woman might forget the exact details of your conversations, but years later, she'll still remember the quiet chill she felt when you pulled back at just the right moment. She'll still remember the tension in the air when you didn't give her all of yourself too quickly. She'll remember the mystery, the uncertainty, the strength you carried when you didn't fold into her moods. That's what burns into her memory. Not the words, but the emotional imprint. You see, attraction doesn't live in logic. It lives in sensation. It lives in the way her heartbeat quickened when you looked at her without saying a word. It lives in the way she felt small, not in worth, but in presence, standing next to a man who didn't need to prove himself. It lives in the storm of emotions she couldn't quite name, but couldn't forget either. That is the mark you leave behind. Too many men think they can talk their way into a woman's heart. They think the right phrases, the constant reassurance, the sweet gestures will hold her forever. But the truth is, all of that becomes noise if it isn't anchored in feeling. What she takes with her isn't your effort. It's the way your energy shifted her world. Think of it like music. A song can have simple lyrics, maybe even forgettable ones. But the melody, the rhythm, the way it makes you feel, you carry that for a lifetime. That's what emotional imprint is. You're not trying to impress her mind. You're leaving a mark on her soul. Ask yourself when she thinks of you. What does she feel? Calmness, mystery, strength? Or does she just remember another man who begged, who over-explained, who collapsed into her moods? Because if she doesn't feel something unforgettable, she won't stay. Not because she's cruel, but because nature pushes her toward men who stir her deeper instincts. This is why mystery matters. why tension matters, why strength matters. They create contrast. They leave fingerprints on her memory that words alone never could. You don't need to constantly tell her who you are. You need to embody it in silence, in stillness, in the way you carry yourself when you're not trying to impress. A true Stoic man understands this. He doesn't seek validation through constant reassurance. He lets his presence speak louder than his voice. He knows that the way he moves through the world calmly with direction and quiet strength will leave an imprint long after the moment is gone. And here's the paradox: you don't create emotional imprint by trying harder. You create it by needing less. By living so fully in your purpose that when she's around you, she feels a gravity she can't escape. By showing her not through gifts or words, but through your stillness, that your life is bigger than her approval. That is what sears itself into her memory. So remember this: she may forget the dinners, the texts, the little promises, but she will never forget how you made her feel when she realized she couldn't quite figure you out, when she saw you could walk away without flinching, when she felt the rare energy of a man who belongs to himself. That's your legacy in her world, not your words, not your gifts, but your emotional imprint. And when you leave that behind, you don't just pass through her life. You become the chapter she keeps rereading long after the book has closed. At the end of these 10 truths, remember, this strength isn't in chasing, but in becoming. Women may be drawn by many things, but they stay attached to presence, purpose, and respect. If today's message stirred something inside you, don't let it fade. Let it shape you. And if this is your first time here, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video with those who need it most. Leave a comment below, and let's keep uncovering deeper truths together in the next video.